So 101 gang, 101 fam, welcome in and welcome back to another reaction. We're reacting to some Marvel, man. You see I got my red on to represent attitude in because I know y'all seen them teaser trailers. What I gotta say is, with that being said, I have no idea what's going on. Like, who does? One thing, you got Steve Rogers returning, like we all knew. Then you got Thor in the woods praying poems for some reason, like he's seen a ghost. You got Xavier and Magneto playing chess as always, like just hop on Fort. Cyclops crashing out. You got M'Baku and Ben Grimm, the Thing, becoming best friends. It's a whole lot. With all that being said, we have not seen Doom. And we just don't know how this is all gonna start. That's pretty much what we're tuning in for right now. Let's go ahead and get into it.
Avengers Doomsday has just released its 4th teaser trailer, and
see if they can make some sense
this
out of
puzzle
this, man.
that is the secret plot of Avengers Doomsday are finally starting to piece together. Hey, welcome back to Screen Crush. I'm Colton Ogburn, and with 4 teaser trailers and 2 post-credit scenes, all featuring actual scenes from Avengers Doomsday, we think that we may know how the first act of the film and beyond will unfold. So let's go through each post-credit scene and trailer, put them in what we think is the correct order, and see if we can figure out what the hell is going down in this movie. So before we do that, let's do a quick rundown of every post-credit scene and teaser in the order that they were released. So we're going to start with the post-credit scene.
The post-credit scenes first from previous films, tie it with the teaser trailers. That makes sense. See how that works.
The Marvels. Now, while the Thunderbolts post-credit scene and the Fantastic Four First Steps post-credit scene have both been confirmed as actual scenes from Doomsday that were directed by the Russo brothers, that's not the case for this post-credit scene from the Marvels.
You are now in a reality parallel to your own.
Now,
not gonna lie, I forgot the Marvels even existed.
That scene, of course, shows us Monica Rambeau waking up in the X-Mansion after having been trapped in a universe parallel to her own, the X-Men universe. And while this scene wasn't done by the Russos and likely isn't in the Doomsday movie itself, I still think that it will, of course, have a big implication for the film, with us knowing the, quote, original X-Men are returning. And while it hasn't been officially confirmed, Occam's razor would suggest that with Monica Rambeau getting trapped in a universe parallel to her own, in the multiverse saga, in an X-Mansion lab that looks identical to the Fox X-Men lab, and with a Beast being played by Kelsey Grammer, I'm very comfortable saying with certainty that this universe that Monica is in is the exact same X-Men universe that we are seeing here in the X-Men trailer for Doomsday. And her very presence in that universe and the tear between those realities is partially responsible for the incursion occurring.
You somehow crossed through a tear in space-time, which is, of course, impossible.
Alright, so next came Thunderbolts, or New Avengers, and in that post-credit scene, we see a 14-month time skip. The New Avengers, consisting of Yelena, Bucky, Alexei, Ghost, John Walker, and Bob, are in the Avengers Tower, and they are discussing their legal dispute with Sam Wilson's Captain America over the name Avengers.
You know he's filed for copyright of the name?
Did he? So not only does this scene set up tension between Sam's Avengers and Yelena and Bucky's Avengers, and it makes you wonder why they don't just, like, combine teams. We'll get to that here in a sec, but
for real though, like, I ain't gonna lie, Sam, I get it, I understand. These are, you know, once fugitive, they weren't originally superheroes, and now all of a sudden they're the new Avengers. I get how you feel right now. But at the same time, Doom is coming. And if you ain't got a team yet, these is probably the best bet for you.
the scene, it then pivots to the Fantastic Four rocket entering the MCU. Now, for a long time, I assumed that since the Fantastic Four are from New York in their universe, that they would land in New York in this other universe and go to the Avengers Tower. But now it's looking like, with the latest trailer for Doomsday, that they may actually land near Wakanda and Talokan. But again, we'll explain that when we get to that trailer. So the next post-credit scene is from Fantastic Four First Steps. And yes, these are kind of out of order because, yeah, it would have made more sense to have seen this scene before the Thunderbolts one, but oh well. So, in that scene, we get a 4-year time skip from the end of the film, and we see Sue reading to a toddler, Franklin. She briefly steps out of the room to grab another book, and boom, it's Doom.
Doom is Doom, baby.
And this scene was our first glimpse of RDJ's Dr.Doom, and it set the stage
I didn't even notice that he had his mask off while in this scene. Of course, we can't see his face, but he got his mask off, so he's showing his true face to Franklin right here. So it's like, is there something behind that as well, that he's not wearing his mask? Maybe he doesn't want to scare Franklin into thinking he's like a bad guy with the mask on or something.
and it set the stage for the kidnapping theory.
So did you say what now?
Well, we all assumed from the looks of that post-credit scene that Doom was there to take Franklin and use him for his multiversal powers, the power cosmic.
He possesses the power cosmic.
Franklin, after all, has a huge part to play in Avengers Secret Wars, which Doomsday is serving.
I hope Galactus somehow, some way finds itself either in Avengers Doomsday or in Secret Wars. Cause yeah, he was cool, he was great in the new Fantastic Four movie. But we need more. We need more, bro. We gotta see him again.
As a bit of a prelude to. But then as these new Doomsday character teasers began rolling out, it started looking like Doom might not only be coming for Franklin, but for all of our heroes' children that hold great power or multiversal significance. So let's run all of those down. The famous Doomsday teasers that leak online and then run in theaters and then get dropped officially by Marvel. The first one was the return of Steve Rogers. The trailer opens in the 1940s where Steve traveled at the end of Endgame to live a life with Peggy. They finally consummated that love and they got a little Steve Jr. out of it. Sidebar, I bet that kid's name is James after James Buchanan Barnes, or the kid's name could be Tony since Steve would have just witnessed Tony's sacrifice to save the universe and make it possible for Steve to even get to have this new life. So anyway, the end.
Do we really think he's gonna name him Steve? Nah, I get it. That would have been a nice thing to do. Tony did save the world. But Steve and Tony wasn't that cool. I don't know. They wasn't that cool.
Steve Rogers having a son was our first clue that Doom may be after more than just Franklin Richards. He could be after all of these kids. Why? Well, because they shouldn't exist, and many of which hold a great cosmic power. The Russos have been clear that when Steve Rogers traveled to the past to live this life, and this timeline wasn't stopped by the TVA because we are now living in an MCU not overseen by He Who Remains with his stringent sacred timeline that doesn't allow for branches, but instead now under the watch of Loki and in his multiversal tree that is able to expand and grow and allow for free will in the MCU. But this free will and allowance of expansion is the very thing that will expose the MCU, Universe 616, to the greater multiverse, and set the stage for Doomsday and Secret Wars. Now, I tell you all of that because this timeline that Steve Rogers created, it should not exist. This child should not exist. And if the multiverse is collapsing due to this expansion, just like He Who Remains warned it would, that timeline and that baby gotta go. And this theme of children in the teasers that became more clear when the second Doomsday teaser dropped, featuring Thor praying to Odin for great power and the strength to fight one more battle and face one more enemy so that he may return to his daughter and give her a life of peace, that really started to cement this theory. And you'll notice that in this Thor teaser, he is holding Stormbreaker, which he had seemingly passed down to Love at the end of Love and Thunder. So this makes me think that by this point in the movie, Love has been taken. Remember, Love has the power of eternity, which is the power of the universe itself, very similar to the power cosmic that Franklin Richards holds in his universe. And we have to remember that Love shouldn't be alive. She was resurrected by a wish to eternity from her biological father, Gore. So she is yet another child with great power that is supposed to be dead. Oh, and I don't think I mentioned this off the top, but I think Franklin Richards is also supposed to be dead, or like not exist. There's also Steve's son, who we mentioned should not exist. But real quick,
golly, so like, dang, like, cause now that reminds me of Tony again. You know, he did have his child, he had his daughter, but he ended up having to sacrifice himself and couldn't even, you know, live a life with a daughter. Like, so like, dang, like, can our superheroes even live a good life? Can he have kids and be parents and like, dang.
Am I not supposed to have what I want? What I need? What am I supposed to do?
Back to Franklin, remember, Reed and Sue tried for a long time to have a baby, and they never could. In fact, they had kind of reached the point that they were just going to give up.
it wasn't going to be for us, and we were okay with that.
We were okay.
So perhaps they too were affected by He Who Remains or the Council of Kings, like strict rules for what can and can't happen. And perhaps a rule was that Franklin Richards was never to be born. Perhaps because of his great power and multiverse-altering abilities that he would hold. But now with He Who Remains and the Council of Kings gone, and with the multiverse expanding
Just
and
like
free will
possible.
now at play, they were finally able to get pregnant and bring Franklin into existence. Okay, so now
Anything is
real quick,
possible
back
now.
to the Thor teaser. Love, she may have been taken by Doom, and that could have already happened when we see Thor praying in the woods, but she may also just be sick. In this teaser, Love looks like she isn't feeling so hot, and we see her in bed. Now, stick with me here, but if Love was resurrected by the very power of the universe itself, and the multiverse is now dying, meaning that the universes are dying, then theoretically, her life force would begin to drain as well, right along with her universe. The two are cosmically connected.
She has lost the will to live.
Alright, and then came the X-Men trailer, my favorite of the bunch. And in this trailer, we see the original Fox-era X-Men, Patrick Stewart's Xavier, Ian McKellen's Magneto, and James Marsden's Cyclops, and boy is he pissed. Likely because Doom has taken he and Jean Grey's daughter, Rachel Summers, who also has the power of the Phoenix Force, which is also a universal cosmic power like the
So Doomsday is probably just taking everybody kids. Like he just taking them. Why the kids though? Like I thought he was gonna just build his own, evil version of the Avengers with all the other evil versions of the superheroes. Like why he need the kids for? Like why the kids got to be a part of this? But it is a crazy theory.
Or cosmic, or the power of eternity. But here's the kicker. This Rachel Summers kid, she too shouldn't exist. Think about it. Scott Summers and Jean Grey are both supposed to be dead. But when Wolverine dreamwalked into his past self in Days of Future Past and altered the timeline, he resurrected his old friends. And this tampering with the timeline could be yet another example of the fabric of reality beginning to crumble. And a child who shouldn't exist now existing. And that places a target on our back in the eyes of Doom. So the fourth Doomsday trailer is Black Panther and the Fantastic Four. So in that teaser, we see Shuri's Black Panther, King of Wakanda M'Baku, and King Namor of Talokan all in a desert. Now, some have speculated that this could be the Void, like we saw in Deadpool and Wolverine, or that it could be Talokan with no water because of the temples we're seeing in the background. It doesn't seem deep enough to be Talokan. We have to remember that Talokan is way down deep underwater on the ocean floor, and I don't think the trailer would show us our characters in the Void. Not yet, anyway. So I think this is the same desert that we saw in Wakanda Forever, where Namor and Shuri had their big fight. A desert near both Wakanda and Talokan. And I think the Fantastic Four rocket likely just landed there in that desert because of the massive energy signature that Reed would be able to pick up on coming from the vibranium beneath the ground. Perhaps indicating to Reed that this would be the most advanced place on this universe's Earth, and a place where he could find a big brain.
Speaking of big brain, it's just gonna be so fire to see Shuri as the genius she is, and then Reed Richards as the genius he is. Like, just bouncing off ideas. Like, I wonder what they really gonna cook up to like make sense of all this.
In a big lab. But here's how that fourth trailer connects to the wider theme of these trailers. Missing children and children that shouldn't exist. Shuri says that she's lost everyone she cares about. And this is in reference, of course, to her having lost her mother and her brother in Wakanda Forever. But it's also in Wakanda Forever where Shuri meets her secret nephew, T'Challa Jr.
Anyway, my name is Prince T'Challa.
Don't tell me that little T'Challa should not exist right now. Don't tell me that Doomsday about to take him too. There's no way he finna say this. Let's see.
Shuri would be saying she's lost everyone she cares about unless little T'Challa has also been taken.
Oh God, bro. Oh, hell no.
Putting these scenes in order. Let's have a little fun and see if we can piece together the movie based on these post-credit scenes and the teasers. Okay, so the first scene chronologically, and which may not even be in the movie, is of course Monica being in the X-Men universe, and I assume we'll see her appear there once we reverse in the movie. And we'll learn that her presence there is partially to blame for the incursion happening between that universe and the MCU. And speaking of incursions, that's how I think the movie will open. I think we are going to see the multiverse beginning to collapse. They need to establish right off the top top that this isn't just theoretical. Universes are dying, they are colliding, and Doomsday is here. I think we'll then cut to a title card that says Avengers Doomsday, and then the next scene will take place in Universe 828. I think we'll even get a little text banner that establishes that we are in that Fantastic Four universe. There we'll see the scene from First Step's post-credit scene with Sue and Franklin and Doom. Doom will then take Franklin and I think Sue, leaving Johnny, Ben, and Reed behind. Reed will then use his energy signal tracker that we saw in First Steps that he used to track the Silver Surfer to track Franklin's energy signature that also comes from the Power Cosmic and that Doom is now using to travel the multiverse. I think Reed...
That is crazy though, that the fact that their whole movie they were trying to prevent their kid from getting taken, and then the next movie Doom just... But also, my question is, even with all these teaser trailers, these post-credit scenes, all that being said, with this pretty good theory right here, I know for a fact Dr. Strange's got to be in some type of part in this. It's kind of, I don't know, kind of weird they didn't really put him in no teaser trailer that we seen. Maybe that was for a reason.
Ben will then get into their rocket and they will chase after the signal to another universe, Universe 616. And the only reason they'll be able to now cross universes is because the incursion between their world and the MCU has now begun. Next we cut to 616 where we see the new Avengers returning from a mission, which is what we saw in the Thunderbolts post-credit scene. They'll mention the space crisis, aka the incursions, and then boom, here comes the Fantastic Four rocket.
Cool shit.
So they'll fire up their Quinjet and pursue the rocket, which has landed right near Wakanda, a place that Bucky has spent a lot of time. We'll then see the rocket land in the desert, and the Wakandans will greet these new arrivals. So out steps the Thing, they greet each other, explain why they're there, and Reed will ask to use Shuri's lab, and for her help not only finding Franklin, but also understanding the multiversal crisis that is unfolding. Soon thereafter, another ship will arrive, the new Avengers Quinjet, and out will step Bucky, who will offer his condolences to Shuri, and then be granted access for he and his team, the new Avengers, into Wakanda. In Shuri's lab, she and Reed,
just off rip, just like that, there's like 18 different characters together at that point. And that's what we've been missing, bro. We just need the family to come back together, bro. Like, that's all we need. So I hope this is true.
we'll explain to everyone what's going down, we'll learn about Victor Von Doom, and we'll learn that Doom and Franklin were in Universe 616, but that they've already moved on to another neighboring universe, Universe 1005, the X-Men universe. But why did Doom come to Universe 616? Well, because Doom made a pit stop to abduct yet another powerful child, Love. Now, before we get the scene that we saw in the trailer of Thor praying to his father and learning that Love has been abducted, back in Shuri's lab, we'll be informed by a member of the Dora Milaje that the Avengers have arrived in Wakanda, to which Johnny or Ben will say, I thought you guys were the Avengers. And Bucky will say, it's complicated. Then in walks Sam Wilson with his team of Avengers, walking towards his Falcon, Ant-Man, Wong, and Shang-Chi. Ant-Man will have knowledge of the quantum realm.
I'm not gonna lie, that's a horrible lineup. Only one that I say, like, will be hungry and ready is Shang-Chi. We ain't seen my boy in like 5 years, ain't it? Like 6 years. But Ant-Man, come on now. The new Falcon, come on now. Didn't he just get off the hospital bed? Now I don't mean no offense, but come on. Like, Sam gotta know this lineup not gonna do it. He gotta know that.
Prove useful, and he'll credit himself with the idea of the time heist to save the universe back in Endgame. Shang-Chi will be sporting his...
No, my fault. Let me put some little respect on Ant-Man. He is one of the other OGs when it comes to the Avengers. He was there when they were fighting Thanos and all type of stuff. So I'll give him his props on that.
Rings that, remember, in the Shang-Chi post-credit scene had a beacon.
We're sending a message.
A message to where?
This beacon will have begun at the same time as the space crisis, and this beacon will be revealed as a distress signal from none other than Loki. Loki, who I think has a connection to the Bangles from Miss Marvel and the Ten Rings. So then, following the abduction of Love, or maybe just her being sick and Thor knowing that that's because the multiverse is dying, because her powers are connected to the universe itself and the power of eternity, maybe he's leaving her behind and someone else is watching over her so he can go correct whatever problem is causing the death of the universe. Anyway, I think Thor will arrive in Wakanda, and as we see that little bit of tension and bickering between who are the true Avengers, Thor will state that he is the true leader of the Avengers because
That's
he's the
true.
only OG Avenger standing in the room, and he will state that he is the one in charge.
Everybody knows who's in charge.
Thor will
Hey, and at this point, when it comes to the whole Avengers, let my boy Thor lead. He ready for it now. He ready, and he is a true OG. Not only just an OG, but he was part of the big three.
Thor will then assemble his team to follow the Ten Rings map to the beacon, a signal that he will recognize as a distress call from his brother. Perhaps it is Thor who will even reveal to the others that, yeah, that beacon, that's going to Loki. I know that signal. We could then see another team led by Reed Richards that will embark on their mission to get Franklin, which means they are going to the Fox X-Men universe. And when they arrive, they will find that once again, they are too late and Doom has already come and gone, and he caused great havoc while he was there, and he stole the daughter of Cyclops, Rachel Summers. And that's when it will become crystal clear to our heroes that Doom is stealing powerful people from each universe. They will know that Franklin was taken, they'll learn from Thor that Love was taken, or perhaps that she is just sick from the dying universe. And again, as I'll talk about here in a second, maybe the child that has been taken from the 616 universe is actually the back-in-time son of Steve Rogers. Anyway, they'll also learn from Xavier that Rachel Summers, who was also taken, has the same great power as her mother, the power of the Phoenix. We'll then get a dramatic moment where one of the characters say, well, where's he going next? And that's when we can cut to the branch timeline created by Steve Rogers, and we'll meet his newborn son that is now in Doom's crosshairs. And I think the Avengers are going to travel there to get with Steve Rogers, and I think that Ant-Man, Bucky, and Sam will know exactly where to go and how to get there. They will not need to merely travel to another universe, but travel back in time to get to Steve and his son before Doom can. Or, stick with me, let's go back a few scenes. Maybe there's a third team that will disperse from that meeting in Wakanda. Remember, we have the Thor team going to Loki, the Reed team going to the X-Men universe. Maybe during that meeting in the lab, Shuri detected the moment that Universe 616 began to die, a point that is back in time, meaning that Love wasn't the one who was taken by Doom, and instead she is just sick from the dying multiverse. And when they learn that Doom actually traveled to 616 but at an earlier point in time, Bucky and Sam will recognize that year and they will know exactly why Doom has traveled there. Steve.
I ain't gonna cap. It's like I have more clarity of what's going on and what could be going on, but at the same time, even more confused. Just the fact that they're all united and banding up together, the whole family is back somewhat, that just gives me hope that the movie finna be fire. Like it's finna be a great moment, and it's finna bring back the essence of Marvel and the whole Avengers. Or for real. Again, I'm just looking for the other pieces. Like, of course, like we all are. I'm wondering where Doctor Strange is at, Spider-Man, freaking Star-Lord, like Guardians of the Galaxy. Like, it's a lot of other characters that gotta be involved in all this, especially for it to make sense. Deadpool, what's really the true story of this whole 3-hour movie? But anyways, I appreciate y'all for tuning in to this reaction. Plenty more on the way, plenty more art on the way, and I'll see y'all boys in the next one. 101.